Hello and welcome back for another one. My name is Asherah and welcome to my unique PhD journey. I'm exploring dissociative identity disorder and psychosis alongside conscious expansion, blending the 3D academic world and my 5D spiritual practices. I'm also training as a shamanic practitioner and bringing my gifts as a clairvoyant and medium. As we dive in, please note that when I am channeling spirit, it is personal and spiritual, it is not clinical. While I have academic training in mental health, and this is my old PhD student ID badge, this journey is about authentic, multidimensional exploration. So let's embark on this journey together and uncover the intersections of science and spirit. So I've just got back from the sauna and I did some alchemization there, honestly. Do you know what I mean? Especially after yesterday when I said that they'd emailed me to tell me that my table was 0. And then today I saw an email telling me that I'm table 26. So I've just thought, you know what, just go with the flow, go with the flow. So I've printed out my ticket, which I showed earlier. Went to the gym, sat down, literally cleared a lot of, I think because I've been watching these videos and people have been talking verbatimly my story, it seems like. There was a lot of energy, do you know what I mean? And a lot of emotions and a lot of things got brought up from going through that experience. So I was able to alchemize it and I just feel so much light and airy and fairy. But before I left out, I saw a video that I want to bring your attention to. Okay. I just saw something else that caught my eye. But so this is it. So this is a video called Uncovering the Power of Hoodoo, an Ancestral Journey. And it's by PBS in capital Voices. And this was recorded 2 years ago. All right, so this is the one I want to bring your attention to. And why this is playing, because I am going out this evening, I'm going to start to get ready, okay, while this is playing. So I'll be pottering around in the background. Probably putting my 2 pence into, okay.
You just had with a deceased family member would be guaranteed to raise some
So you can see her, and also you can see the title.
But in West Africa, talking to the dead is nothing unusual.
Nothing
Known
unusual.
as ancestor worship, the practice is woven into the fabric of daily life. But when the transatlantic slave trade ripped people away from their families and way of life, it placed their ancestral chain in terrible danger. To protect it, they turned to religions like hoodoo, which restored their access to the spirits despite being so far away from home. Today, I'm going to find out how Africans held on to these ties to the ancestors against all odds, and how descendants use memories of the past to bring about healing in the present. I'm Tariana Tank Ball, and this is Ritual. For Africans on the plantation, maintaining the religion of their birth in the Americas simply was not the option it was for the Puritans of Plymouth Rock. Most spiritual practices among enslaved people were feared and forbidden by plantation owners, who looked to eradicate any sign of strength. So in secrecy, often under the cover of night, enslaved Africans used different spiritual tools from home that they adapted in order to survive an otherwise impossible situation. The religions they created had much in common, like spirit communication, which was practiced by all of them. But they were also unique to the places where they were created. Voodoo, they called it in Haiti, Candomblé in Brazil, and Santeria in Cuba. In North America, it was known as hoodoo. Hoodoo doctors gathered medicinal plants to make the traditional remedies that secured a community's physical survival, while other rituals attended their spiritual wounds and reminded them of a time before slavery. To understand this fascinating tradition, I've come to Dr. Camila Martin, a scholar who specializes in the history of Black spiritual practices in North America. Dr. Camila, I am so excited to be here with you today. You are a brilliant scholar. And if I may, I would love to ask you, what is ancestor worship?
So simply put, ancestor worship is the reverence and celebration of our literal ancestors, those who came before us in our family lineage. More broadly, it's a part of a collection of spiritual and healing traditions that have come to the United States by way of the transatlantic slave trade. So ancestor worship is part of a larger collection of spiritual traditions of the United States, popularly known as conjure or hoodoo. We want to be sure to keep the memory of our ancestors alive. And so when we continue to call their name, when we continue to celebrate
Pull
them.
strength from that.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's mixed with the word worship. Because when I hear worship, you know, we tend to get a little funny about that.
Absolutely.
You know, we were brought up to worship nothing but God. So when you put ancestors in front of it, but the way that you break it down, it makes it special because they are more closer to the divine than we are in this physical realm.
We might call them our guardian angels, right? To make it a more palatable term, right? The sense that the spirits are our spirits that are connected to us in terms of our family are watching over us. They're protecting us. They're intervening on our behalf.
What exactly is hoodoo?
I like to say it's a system of healing and harming that came over with our enslaved ancestors. Well, when we think about the horrific experiences of our ancestors, you know, coming across the Atlantic, enduring bondage and dehumanization, all that they had was their spirituality. And so to survive something like that, right, you have to call on a higher power. And so hoodoo, conjure, voodoo, candomblé, all of these African diasporic traditions are really the thing that helped us get over. It's the thing that helped us survive. It is the reason why you and I are able to sit here today, because our ancestors at some point believed and practiced and persevered because they had conjure and hoodoo and voodoo and all of these different spiritual traditions that allowed them to survive.
Is there a relationship between hoodoo and the church?
Absolutely, right? So when we think about hoodoo and we think about ancestor worship and African spirituality at large, there are some direct connections with particularly the Black church, right? And we see people shouting and speaking in tongues and catching the Holy Spirit. That's spirit possession. We're using different terminologies here, but the concept, the belief, and the practice are kind of undergirding from the very same source. People like to kind of separate, oh, the church is this and hoodoo is this over here. But particularly when we're talking about the American South and Black folks, there's not really a clean separation the way that people would like to think. And that's not a bad thing. It's simply the evolution, right, of the cultural mixing and the religious and spiritual beliefs coming together to form what we know now as the Black church.
Why do you think it's kind of lost in present day, if it's this cool and interesting and healing?
Yes. I think that it boils down to it being a system of power that enslaved Africans had at their disposal, right? And so white supremacy came in and did what it wanted to do, and they recognized this power and they stripped it. But the tradition didn't go away, right? It just went underground. It just evolved into something different.
How do people today carry on that ancestral connection?
It's actually more mundane than you might imagine. It's the everyday rituals. It's the everyday remembrances, calling on those names, looking at those pictures, telling your children stories about time you spent with a grandmother or grandfather.
It's hard to know just how many other parts of American culture can be traced back to early hoodoo practices. Fewer people have held on to the old religion that they have in Haiti or Cuba. But among many, traditional practices and ancestral connection remain strong. I'm sitting down with Daya Salam, a traditional healer from rural Georgia, to better understand her relationship to those who have come before her and the power it gives her spirit work in the here and now. So people call you a conjure woman. What does that mean?
So a conjure woman is someone who can take anything in front of her and make a healing balm out of it. That's what I consider to be a conjure woman. Someone who can make something out of nothing. You ever heard your grandmama say that? I need to go make something out of nothing.
I've heard that. So when I think of conjure, I think of like fire, smoke, spells, like, no?
No.
Dang.
Think more.
Hollywood got me?
Hollywood definitely has you. Hollywood definitely has you.
In a chokehold.
Yeah, in a chokehold.
Give me out the chokehold.
So put that down.
Okay.
Lay that to rest. What you want to think about is your kitchen,
Wow.
Opening up your cabinets. You want to think about what's in your cabinets. You want to think about when you don't feel well and your grandmother's making that chicken noodle soup and she's praying over the soup as she's stirring it. You want to think about the spices she uses, the herbs she uses. You want to think about her going out in her backyard, pulling out onions to put into the soup. That's what you want to think about when you think about a conjure woman.
How do you practice ancestor worship?
Well, one way is by having them on display. So at home, I have an altar just for my ancestors. And on that altar, you will see every one of these pictures, as well as any obituaries or relics of my ancestors that I have kept, whether it's a necklace or a Bible or anything that brings me close to them. And so each week, I have dedicated Sunday to them. And I go to them, I just sit by them, I thank them for their life, I thank them for their perseverance, I thank them for their wisdom, and I just ask them to help guide me while I'm here as well, and protect me and my family. That's how I practice, that's how I honor those who have come before me.
And that's how you communicate with your ancestors?
Absolutely, absolutely, because they're always trying to communicate with us.
In what ways?
In every way. So one, in a way of love, because we are here as a direct result of their perseverance, their struggle, and their love. They also want to protect us. They also have a wisdom now that they are in the ancestral plane that we do not have. So they want to guide us and give us wisdom.
Amen.
And so all of these things are ways that our ancestors talk to us if we are open to listening to them. And so having them in pictures is just my way of saying thank you for your life and thank you for being a part of my life and protecting me.
Why is it important for us to practice ancestor worship?
That's a really good question. I think it's important for us to understand how we are all interconnected with each other, and our ancestors help us do that. When you say, these are my people, this is what my people have gone through, and this is where we are now, it gives you a sense of social responsibility as well. So the work that I do every single day, I do as my thank you to my ancestors that have come before me. I say, I did not have to run from dogs, but you did. I did not get hosed down, but you did. I did not have to get changed by slavery, but you did. And as my thank you to you for the privileges that I have today, I want to do what I can to make today better for those who's coming after me. Because one day, you too will be ancestors. And so the work that we do or don't finish will be the work of somebody else.
Wow.
So they've done their part. I want to do my part. And if each of us were doing our parts, I think we can really bring some healing, not only to ourselves individually, but to our communities.
Centuries ago, when enslaved people fell ill on the plantation, hoodoo doctors were often the only ones who could take the time to help them heal, thanks to their knowledge of herbs and cures. But the spiritual system that connected them to the supernatural did more than just heal individuals. It stitched communities back together when slavery would have left them broken. With every act of spirit, ancestors and descendants worked hand in hand to be made whole again and again. Today, ancestral healers like Daia are walking that same path with the understanding that each individual's suffering is part of a bigger picture. Their connection to the ancestors is a way of healing communities from the untreated wounds of American history. This way, they can draw strength from the past, connect to each other in the present, and envision a future in which freedom belongs to us all.
So thank you for staying and watching that, because again, uncovering the power of hoodoo. It went a little bit into hoodoo, fair enough, but for me it's very much about just understanding that the connecting with ancestors, talking to the ancestors, it's not a new thing. It's not a new thing. It's how we obtained information to help us, to guide us along the paths that we were on. You know, and there's lots of religions outside of African traditional religions that relied on ancestors, that relied on dreams. I mean, I had Kambo. I've had Kambo twice, which is like a poisonous plant, and you absorb a little bit of the poison in your body, and it causes you to purge. But there's also a spiritual element to it too. And the history of Kambo is that the leader of the tribe, probably I shouldn't give you my synopsis. I probably should chat GPT. But the leader of the tribe, there was lots of people dying in the village, and he didn't know what to do, and he consulted ancestors, and they took him on a journey and showed him the frog, and it was the frog that he brought back and gave to his community, which saved them all, which is the story I've been told, but I wanna just confirm that story. Hi Val.
Hey there, how's it going?
Fine, thank you. I want to ask a quick question. It's about Kambo. What's the history behind Kambo? My understanding is that it was like the chief of a village. Quite a few people was dying in the village. He had a dream. They showed him about the frog. He brought the frog back, gave it to everybody, and then everybody was okay. What's your understanding?
Yeah, that's a pretty neat summary. So Kambo is actually derived from the secretion of the giant monkey frog known as Philomedusa bicolor. And the legend says that a tribal chief, after facing illness and death in his village, had a vision or a dream that guided him to the frog. He then used the frog secretion, which is known to have various bioactive peptides, to help heal people and strengthen them. Over time, it became a traditional healing practice in the Amazon, and then spread to other regions, including Cambodia.
Fantastic. And what is the history of hoodoo?
Absolutely. Hoodoo, sometimes called root work or conjure, is a traditional African American folk magic practice that originated in the southern United States. It blends elements of African spiritual traditions, Native American herbalism, and European folk magic. Historically, it was practiced by enslaved Africans and their descendants as a form of spiritual and practical healing, protection, and empowerment. Over time, it evolved and incorporated different influences, and today it's practiced in various forms across the US and beyond.
So what is the equivalent for the UK? Because obviously there would have been African slaves brought to the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. The UK has its own rich history of folk magic and traditional healing practices as well. In the UK, you can find traditions like cunning folk practices, which date back to medieval times. These cunning folk were known for their healing, divination, and protection rituals, often using herbs, charms, and spells. Additionally, there are elements of folk magic influenced by Celtic traditions, as well as Romani.
No, I'm just interested in the African traditional religions. So for example, the slaves that come over, and that's what I'm talking about. So what's that, 1845 or something like that? Well, before 1845, I think it was 16th century to 18th century. Is that correct? Was slavery from the 16th to the 18th century?
Yes, that's correct. The transatlantic slave trade really took place from the 16th century through to the 19th century, with the peak of it occurring roughly between the 17th and early 19th centuries. Enslaved Africans brought to the UK, particularly to places like London and Liverpool, did carry their cultural and spiritual traditions with them. Over time, these traditions blended with other influences and sometimes became more hidden due to persecution and suppression. But you can definitely find traces of African traditional religions and practices in the UK during and after that period.
Where would I go to find that information?
There are definitely a few great places. Start with academic books and journals on the history of the African diaspora in the UK. Universities and libraries often have special collections focused on these topics. Additionally, museums in the UK, like the British Museum or the Museum of London, have exhibits and resources on African heritage and cultural history. You can also look into local archives, community centres, and even online resources that focus on the African diaspora in the UK. And sometimes there are also community groups and cultural organisations that preserve and share this history.
Thank you. I think what I'm going to do with this lady, because she's got quite a few videos, I'm going to record her videos and give my opinion as the videos are going, and I'm going to put those into the shamanic video bunch. So I won't put these videos in the PhD. They're all part of the PhD proposal, but I'm trying to divide them. So my own personal videos I'm putting as A, B, C, D. That's how they're listed. Then you've got videos connected to kind of like rituals, African traditions, shamanism, and those are PhD shamanism videos. And then you've got obviously the PhD where we're just kind of looking at different perspectives of the internet, with regards to more, not necessarily more of a mental health thing at the moment, even though I have done some videos on mental health, but I'm just trying to put as much information out there on that side, because that side is probably more the academic side, and I feel that the academic side would benefit from knowing some of the information from the esoteric community. So yeah, so literally it wasn't going to be a long video, because as I said, I've got somewhere to be tonight, but I just wanted to kind of touch on that, because like I said, I saw it before I went to the gym. They're telling me to play this last one. It's 13 minutes long. We might as well.
Nothing takes the breath away of a black masking Indian in full regalia.
So this is called Inside Black New Orleans Most Sacred Rituals, and again it's 2 years of age by the PBS Voices. Same woman as
You
the
can spot
author.
them coming for blocks, their brightly colored feathers rippling in the breeze. Though the origin of this tradition is mysterious, its artistry is plain to see. By the time these men and women are ready to display their suits on the streets of New Orleans, thousands of hours have gone into making them. But it all pays off on Super Sunday, when the whole city comes out to see black masking Indians from every part of town. I'm Tariana Tank Ball, and this is Ritual. Today, I'm going to find out what this ritual means to the community across generations. Why do they devote so much time to it? How does something that requires so much effort get passed on, and how does the ritual evolve in the process? I sat down with Asherah Amor Aminkun, a black masking Indian, African dance instructor, and overall community icon, to better understand the bigger picture. I am in New Orleans, in the historic French Quarters, and I just feel so honored to be next to you, Asherah, Queen.
And I've been admiring you. I told you that. We took our selfie at the beginning. Yes.
Yes, we did. I have so many questions, and I am so excited for you to give me knowledge on things that I didn't even know, even though I grew up in this city myself since birth. And my first one is, what is black masking?
Well, the term black masking Indians is a term that we prefer to be called. People know us as the Mardi Gras Indians because we came out for Mardi Gras, right? We came out at that time because we could not celebrate Mardi Gras. Black people weren't allowed to even go on Canal Street to celebrate Mardi Gras. We celebrated Carnival. Carnival is celebrated in Brazil. It's celebrated in Cuba. It's celebrated in Haiti. It's celebrated in Trinidad.
You know what? For my carnival picture just a minute ago, because I've danced in carnival in Birmingham several occasions, and one year in 2023 I even went up for Carnival Queen and got first runner up, even though I swear down. No, you know what it is? It doesn't really matter who won, because on the day, I got to be Carnival Queen. And it was just such a joy, dressing up in costume, the energy, the Caribbean music, the steel bands playing. You know, it was just, there's just something about it. There's just, I just think there's just something beautiful about being around black people, celebrating, eating, dancing. The energy is just so electric. So watching the carnival performances just brought that back to me, because, you know, obviously
it's known as the most African, most Caribbean city of the United States. We celebrated Carnival. So we called ourselves back in the day Carnival Indians. But the people started saying the Mardi Gras Indians because the bigger name was Mardi Gras.
What's the difference between Super Sunday and Mardi Gras?
Mardi Gras, okay, that's that morning. On that morning, early that morning, that's the big day. You sewing all day, all year long to come out that morning. But on Super Sunday, Mare Kudifayo, Indian red. That's when the Indians come out. It's just the Indians. It's nothing but
No
Indians.
floats to
There's
compete
no
with.
folks to compete with, just us. So you can stand there and watch all that beauty and pageantry that
How
comes in
amazing.
front of your face. Watch.
You know what's so
me-
crazy? It's so crazy because my nan has shown me in 2023 that I come from some type of native Indian family, Malway or something like that. When I googled it, yeah, Maon or something like that. It's like Moana, to be fair. And even my ancestors, when they were outside and they were dancing in grass skirts, but the grass skirts were like different colours, type of thing. It's so connected. But I get downloads of Native American, but I also get downloads of Celtic too. It's a really, really fascinating blend. It's a really, really fascinating blend. So when they're talking about they've got African traditions mixed in with these Native Americans, that just rings home for me. It really does. It's great.
Of resistance that's manifested in creativity. So that act of masculinity.
I'm supposed to be getting ready, you
is
know.
actually an act of defiance.
Wow.
Because you saying, do my time when I couldn't go on Canal Street, couldn't drink at your water fountain, couldn't go in Woolworth. I'm a chief. I'm a queen.
Do you feel as though the Indians unite the community in the neighborhood?
Every hand that help you sew, that energy is in your suit because they help you sew it. So then when you go out amongst the community, they're all giving you this love. Because there's something about circling that energy, coming around, singing the chants, walking in the footsteps of your ancestors and doing the same thing over and over again.
What does it mean to battle?
Well, traditionally, a long time ago, there was always fights. There was always stories about people, getting cut, getting hurt back in the day. And so if you had a beef with somebody early in the year, you would get them on Mardi Gras Day. It wasn't all the Indians, but it was a few of them that did that. But Tootie Montana, he encouraged the Indians to stop physically fighting and to fight through your creativity. He used to say, kill them dead with a needle and thread.
The legendary Big Chief Tootie Montana and his gang were all craftsmen by trade. As carpenters, plasters, bricklayers, and lathers, their hands held generations of expertise. It's hard to know exactly how this tradition came about. The history of the Black masking Indians is passed down through oral tradition and is rarely shared with outsiders. Much about Black masking culture connects to African ancestral masking
Black
traditions,
Indians.
but
I
it is
swear
also
to
a
God,
part of
man.
the city's unique
This
history.
is so
The
beautiful.
first sightings of Black New Orleanians dressed in native attire during the carnival season were recorded as early as 1838.
Wow.
In 1879, a newspaper article reported revelers dressed like natives chanting Chickamauga. These words stem from the indigenous language of the region and recall the close historical ties between Blacks and native Louisianians.
Trust me.
Today, there are as many
Trust
stories
me.
about the origins of the tradition as there are Indian gangs, and plenty more people are content to let the mystery be.
So it's a combination of influences from West Africa and Haiti and creativity from New Orleans. I don't want to take away from what the people in New Orleans actually create. But what's interesting is that many of the people who practice the culture have never been to Africa.
Yeah.
They've never been to Haiti.
Yeah.
They've never been to Trinidad. They've never been to Brazil.
Yeah.
So how does this come out like this?
Yeah.
How does it, you think?
It's just
I think it
ancestors,
comes out
man.
in the DNA.
The blood,
I
the
think
DNA,
memories in the mitochondrial
memories.
cells,
Oh,
in the DNA.
girl. Don't get me
That's
excited.
how they're connecting to it.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so special. That's what
Yeah.
makes it spiritual. That's what makes
Yes.
it ritual-like.
Yes.
And in spite of all of the atrocities that Black
It's
people
still
have faced
inside
in New Orleans,
us.
we still manifest this beautiful culture.
Oh, come on now.
It's a culture of resistance.
Come
It's a
on
culture
now.
of defiance. It's a culture of creativity. It's not just about looking pretty. Pretty comes
It's
at a
not
cost.
pretty, man. Yeah.
It comes at a cost.
Pretty
you know?
comes at a cost,
What
man.
we do know is knowledge within this culture is transmitted through practice.
Wow.
It is passed down from hand to hand. Montana never sold a suit that wasn't a masterpiece. And when others followed in his footsteps, the tradition saw an enormous increase in time
Look
and
at
dedication.
that. Look at the
For
craftsmanship
people
in
like
that.
Chief Joe
Wow.
Boudreaux, who was only 2 months old when he first masked Indian, that dedication was central to his upbringing. As the son of the great Big Chief Monk Boudreaux, sewing these incredible suits is something he was born to do.
Wow.
Today,
Wow.
I am sitting with a black masking Indian family, generations long. I'm so
Wow.
excited to learn about
Sorry,
your
sorry,
family.
sorry,
So, can
sorry.
you introduce your family?
So we have 2 chiefs in one household, 2 different tribes, and that's never heard of because this culture is so secret and sacred. And at the end of the day, it's a competitive culture. And so it doesn't matter if you're my dad, you're my brother, you're my cousin. If we're in 2 different tribes, when we meet, we need to see who put in the most work, whose suit is the prettiest, who has the best chant, who has the best footwork. And so, I mean, competition is a competition.
Family in the same household.
But it's all love.
It's all love,
in
of
the
course,
end.
of
It's all
course.
love in the end.
You're very young to be a chief. Does it feel like a great responsibility?
So, blessing and an honor to like carry that responsibility with this culture, because this culture's been going on for hundreds of years, and knowing that now the culture's on my back it's like overwhelming in a way, exhilarating.
I'm definitely here for it. Like Terrence said, we gotta keep the culture going. So if we don't be out there, then what's gonna happen to this culture that so many other people have done before us? They've been trying to keep it going, and if we just let it go, then we the ones that failed the culture. So the creativity of an Indian suit can go from just humble finding things to now we spend thousands and thousands of dollars on the suits to be able to get that look that we want. So the elevation of the suits is just a testament of the elevation of time and the ideas of the people that's actually doing it. Because the things that I might feel like is top tier, they got a generation that's coming right behind me that's gonna probably blow that out the water based off of all the things they collectively seen. So that's the part I love about it. That's one of my favorite parts of building a suit, honestly.
Why do you think it's so secretive?
Over 150 years ago, when to be a masking Indian in the street literally was illegal, the police department was actually given instructions. They see any black men dancing, parading in any kind of costume that resembles Indians to take them to jail. So our culture has always been built on secretive because we couldn't just be ourselves out of the fear of just being discriminated against, out of fear of black men who actually had native blood being taken away to reservations. So you had to denounce that part of your family, your heritage. So it was kept in secret. So a lot of the words that Indians would use back then, a lot of people didn't recognize the words because the words weren't meant for normal people. It's only meant for me and another Indian, because if you understood what I was saying, it's a possibility you can jeopardize everything.
What does Super Sunday feel like for you?
So it's a lot of weight that you're walking around, and you walking miles, So the physicality of it, that's one thing, but I think every Indian can probably tell you that they don't really feel it until after it's over.
Yeah.
Because the spirit.
That's like carnival. I swear down, 12 hours dancing.
It's my ancestors, and when I say my ancestors, it's not only just my ancient ancestors.
Yeah, it's
like
beyond
the older
that,
guys that I grew up watching.
Oh, wow. And
I watched these guys as a kid, and I seen how they put suits together, how their pageantry was just always that much better than the next. They always had unique things about them. So when those older guys come around and they teach you things and they see, okay, yeah, he took what I taught him, that makes me proud,
Yes. Can you tell me one of your favorite chants?
Chawa boom boom make no bow. That's my favorite chant.
What's your favorite chant?
The same one.
Really? Yours too?
Yeah, but one of my favorite ones is actually Indian Red, the one that we sing right before we go out, because it's basically like the calling of all the ancestors, calling for protection for that day. And the whole chant is just very emotional and all that.
Yeah.
And I cry every Indian Red.
Can you do a little bit of it as a family?
I mean, if you want us to,
feel lucky my own self growing up in the city and experiencing all of this and seeing it. But to listen to the stories firsthand, I feel so lucky to sit in your front room amongst your family and your suits. You know, thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. On Super Sunday, the memory of all the sacrifice, the needle-pricked fingers, vision gone cross-eyed from the long hours of beating, and the special moments they missed because of their dedication to the suit. All of it fades away.
Wow.
As soon as the suit settles on their shoulders,
Look at
the
that.
person underneath is transformed. Everyone who sees them walking that day knows they are in the presence of power.
Wow.
The regal bearing of black masking Indians heightens reality and echoes across centuries.
Wow.
This Super Sunday, each generation activates the ritual with their own memories and aspirations for the future, as the next one stands by to take their place in the dance.
Oh. There's the unk. Amazing, how amazing, how amazing, how touching, you know, how touching. You know how many times I have danced with my ancestors and I can just see hundreds of feet and the dust from the dirt is just clouding the floor. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, even just being in Jamaica this year and coming to understand that I've got Asian blood, and there's a connection to Hinduism, and then going to Bali and going around a Hindu temple and listening to the ancestors guide me through and talk to me, and having visions of being Hindu and understanding Hindu, and just crazy. And I'm like, where is all of this coming from? Like, is this like, what the fuck? But it's just in the DNA. It's raw, just in the DNA. I'm just activating DNA. It's already there. You don't have to go in search for it. It's the only searching to do is from within. You know what I mean? So when my nan showed me this Maui tribe and showed me some old time photographic pictures of them, like it come up on the internet, and they were black, but you could see that they were Indian too. I was just like, wow, you know, really red Indian blood. It's beautiful. So that was amazing. Thank you, ancestors, for suggesting that we watch that second one too. We're at half an hour, which is good. It's a nice little short video watch. Yeah, I'm going to get myself ready now. And then I am going to probably record at the event, actually, is what I'm thinking. Because I think it'd be like nice just to kind of put a video up and just see what's going on. Maybe we'll see how it goes and see what the vibe's saying. But yeah, on that note, thank you so much for watching. You know, make of it what you will, in terms of understanding the history of traditional African religions and how they survived the journey from Africa to wherever they landed, but also how they've survived until now. I just think that in itself is beautiful. You know, you can't keep it down. It's traveling in the blood. It doesn't matter how much of us you kill, how much of us you destroy. It doesn't matter. You know, my great child from now, so we'll still have these activation codes in them and be able to experience what I'm experiencing now. You know, so on that note, take care and stay blessed. All right.